let's transition to the final matchup on divisional playoff weekend in the NFL. It's the Cowboys. It's the 49ers. It's Dak Prescott. It's Brock Purdy. The 49ers are favored by 3.5 points. It's a 6:30 p.m. kickoff on Fox. The over-under for this game is 45.5 points. So we got Mike McCarthy versus Kyle Shanahan. Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys, he has a lot of history with Kyle Shanahan. When the Falcons went to the Super Bowl against the Patriots back in 2016, Shanahan was the offensive coordinator for the Falcons, and Dan Quinn was the head coach. So these two teams have a lot of ties to one another. They've had a lot of playoff battles dating back to their matchups in the 90s. I remember the Cowboys with Troy Aikman playing the 49ers with Steve Young. We go all the way back to those matchups between these two teams. And you know someone who I know is looking forward to this game, and I'm not sure if he's going to pick a side. It's Deion Primetime Sanders. He's played with both of these franchises, so I know he's looking forward to seeing this matchup between these two teams. I know he's looking forward to it. These two are the best teams that we have in the NFC this year. And I want to start off with the Cowboys first and talk about Dak Prescott. Because Dak Prescott for the season, in the regular season, 23 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, 2,860 passing yards. He completed 66% of his passes. I believe last week against the Buccaneers, Dak Prescott was sensational. I mean, what he was able to do against that Buccaneers football team, it was impressive. It was impressive. And I thought last week, Dak Prescott answered the bell. He answered the call because coming into the matchup against the Buccaneers, everyone was talking about how the Cowboys are on upset alert. Mike McCarthy might not keep his job. Tom Brady is more trustworthy in a playoff game than Dak Prescott is. I heard all that talk last week before the Buccaneers matchup on Monday Night Football, and all Dak Prescott did was go out there and put on a sensational performance. Last week, this was Dak Prescott. In his first two drives, he was 0 of 3 passing, 0 passing yards, 0 total touchdown passes. The rest of the game, Prescott went 25 of 30, 305 passing yards, 5 total touchdowns. He became the 4th quarterback in NFL postseason history to have 300 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. He joined some elite company with the likes of Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers, and Peyton Manning. That's how great Dak Prescott's performance was Monday night for the Cowboys. So my expectations for Dak as they go into this game, he's going up against the best defense in the NFL. I mean, when you look at the 49ers, they are led by defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans. Defensively, they got Fred Warner at linebacker. Up front, they got Arik Armstead. They got Nick Bosa. Okay, in their secondary, they got Tre'Davious Ward. So this 49ers defense is the best defense in the NFL. Defensively, the 49ers, they give up 377 total yards per game. That's ranked 8th in the NFL. You can't even run against the 49ers either. They give up 139 rushing yards per game. That's ranked 8th in the NFL. They only give up 27 points per game, which is ranked 6th in the NFL. So the 49ers defense is elite. They are elite, and they are the best defensive unit by far in the NFL. By far. It's not even close. And they've allowed the fewest points per game in the regular season. So I feel like for Dak Prescott, we can't move the goalposts. Like, him beating the Buccaneers was a great accomplishment, but if he can pull this off and beat the 49ers, I believe we got to start looking at Dak Prescott in a different perception heading into next season. Because beating the Buccaneers, while it was impressive and how he was able to do that, it's the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers were 8-9 heading into the playoffs. The Buccaneers only made the playoffs because they were in the pathetic NFC South. That Buccaneers defense hasn't been the same this year compared to what it has been in previous years. So I can only give Dak Prescott so much credit. Again, you got to give him credit for how he played and performed, considering the circumstances. But this is the big test for Dak Prescott. This is it. Going up against the 49ers, the expectations that the 49ers have as a football team, because now the 49ers, they have the better coach. The 49ers, they have the better defensive football team. And offensively, I believe Brock Purdy is working with a little bit more than Dak Prescott is. But this is the round of the playoffs where the good separate from the great. And we are going to get a chance to see if Dak can be great in a playoff game for the Cowboys. And I should have said great separate from the good, because him winning a wild card matchup against the Buccaneers, he played well, but they were expected to beat the Buccaneers, even though people had the Cowboys on upset alert. This game, they're not expected to win. They are not expected to win. And if Dak Prescott can figure out a way to beat the 49ers and get the Cowboys to their first NFC Championship game since 1994, I believe Dak Prescott and his stock will increase as we head into next season. No matter what happens in the next round, no matter what happens in the next round in the NFC Championship game, if Dak Prescott beats the 49ers, I believe Dak Prescott will definitely elevate his stock, and he won't no longer be in that Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins bubble. We got to start talking about Dak Prescott being in that Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence bubble for sure. Now, some people already feel like Dak Prescott is better than Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert, depending on who you ask. I believe Herbert and Lawrence upside is better than Prescott's is. But that's another conversation for another day. Now, offensively, for the Cowboys, they got to figure out a way to spread this 49ers defense out. I think they got to definitely spread the field and don't be in I formation and bunch formation. I think they need to spread the field and try to get the football to CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz is going to be key for this Cowboys offense, because I think he's a security blanket for Dak. Last week, Schultz had 7 receptions, 95 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns for the Cowboys. So I believe that Schultz is going to be a key X factor for this Cowboys offense. Keep an eye out for Schultz. Now, the 49ers, more than likely, they're going to match up Tre'Davious Ward against CeeDee Lamb. Now, Tre'Davious Ward allowed 7 receptions, 105 receiving yards, and a touchdown as the nearest defender last week against the Seahawks. Now, most of those plays came against DK Metcalf. Now, we know Metcalf is one of the best receivers in the NFL, and CeeDee Lamb this year, this was his opportunity to prove that he is a number 1 receiver. And this year, CeeDee Lamb, he was pretty good in this Cowboys offense. He had 107 receptions, 1,359 receiving yards, 9 touchdowns. So he was the reliable number 1 option in this receiving core for the Cowboys. He was the one receiver that Dak Prescott trusted all season long. But even though the 49ers are great against the run, you still got to run the football a little bit. You got to run the football a little bit with Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. But the way the Cowboys are going to win this game, it won't be through the running game. It will not be through the running game. It's going to be on the arm of Dak Prescott. He can't turn the football over in this game for them to have a chance. If Dak Prescott turns the football over in this game, the Cowboys will get blew out of Levi Stadium. Cannot happen. Now, when you switch gears on the other side, 49ers offense versus the Cowboys defense, I got to say, Brock Purdy has been great for the 49ers. And I remember coming into the season, there were talks in the 49ers organization, and everyone was talking about who should the 49ers start. Should it be Jimmy G? Should it be Trey Lance? They decided to go with Trey Lance. And Trey Lance had a season-ending injury in week 2. And Jimmy Garoppolo took over, and Jimmy G did a pretty good job with the 49ers. And he was a stabilizer in this offense. That's what Jimmy G is. He's the stable quarterback that you can rely on. But as crazy as it sounds, I believe Brock Purdy is the best option at quarterback for the 49ers. We were talking about Lance and Garoppolo, but Mr. Irrelevant has become relevant to the 49ers Super Bowl hopes, and he has played well. We've been talking about all year, like, okay, when is Brock Purdy going to have a bad game? When is he going to struggle? We got all these moments, and Brock Purdy has stepped up in a big way. Regular season, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 1,374 passing yards, completing 67% of his passes. He was good in the regular season. He was good. And then we talked about, okay, it's his first playoff game. What is he going to do against Pete Carroll? He's the number 2 seed. They're the favorites in this game. What is Purdy going to do when the pressure is high? Well, Brock Purdy went out there last week, 18 of 30, 332 passing yards, 3 touchdowns with a quarterback rating of 131.5. So we got to stop questioning Brock Purdy. We got to give him his credit. And last week, he became the first rookie in NFL history with a 3 passing touchdown game and a rushing touchdown in a playoff game. He's the 4th player in 49ers history with 3 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown in a playoff game. So, I mean, Brock Purdy is doing some great things right now as the quarterback of the 49ers. He really, really is. And we know that offensively, the 49ers, they got Christian McCaffrey, they got Deebo Samuel, they got Brandon Ayuk, they got George Kittle at tight end, and their offensive line is one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. I'm looking forward to that offensive line and their matchup against Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence of the Cowboys defense, because the Cowboys defensively, they are led by defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. Defensively, the Cowboys, they are good against the pass, but you can run against that Cowboys defense. Defensively, the Cowboys, they give up 129 rushing yards per game. That's ranked 22nd in the NFL. But it's kind of hard to pass against that Cowboys defense. They give up 201 passing yards per game, which is ranked 9th in the NFL. And we know they can create pressure with Micah Parsons and with DeMarcus Lawrence. And I think that's going to be key for that 49ers team. Protect Brock Purdy. That way, they can expose them in the passing game. But it's going to be a great matchup. It's going to be a great matchup. And I think what Kyle Shanahan needs to do is he needs to take a book and a page out of Nick Sirianni's book. When the Eagles beat the Cowboys in their matchup earlier in the season at Lincoln Financial Field, Nick Sirianni and that Eagles offense, they ran right at Micah Parsons. Like, they ran a football at him. And I think that's what the 49ers offensively they need to do. Run at Micah Parsons. Have him start thinking. Because I feel like when you have Micah Parsons just in a position where he's just rushing after the passer, that's when he's at his best. That's when he's at his best. So I'm interested to see also who the Cowboys put Trayvon Diggs on. Will they have him on Debo? Will they have him on Brandon Ayuk? That's going to be key because both Brandon Ayuk and Debo can produce in the passing game for the 49ers. You look at what they've been able to do this year, so far this season, Brandon Ayuk this year, he has 78 receptions, 1,015 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns. Debo Samuel, he would have had over 1,000 yards this year if he didn't have his injury because he only played in 13 games, 56 receptions, 632 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. So, man, this is going to be a great matchup between two great teams. And honestly, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say this. I believe whichever team wins this game is going to the Super Bowl. But all that being said, the Dallas Cowboys, they had a great season this year. And the Cowboys, they won their wild card matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they are in a position to punch their ticket to the NFC Championship game for the first time since the 90s. But I don't think it's going to happen. I'm rolling with Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers to beat the Cowboys at Levi Stadium. I'm going 49ers 31, Cowboys 24. I think the 49ers get it done, and Brock Purdy makes one more play than Dak Prescott.